Hello everyone, I'm back for another update again. I'm walking down my created trail that gives me access to the wilderness areas behind my property. And I did create this trail. But what I'm going to talk about today is, again, this tropical system in the Caribbean, which the last 24 hours pretty much has gone nowhere. I did say yesterday that if it didn't develop into a hurricane by now, it's probably not ever going to. It has been drifting northward toward Hispaniola, however, they're trying to nudge it further west and south by firing energy into the southwestern part of the system now to try to get the development further south and west from where it has been. The last few hours I've been watching this all day to see, amusingly, what they're trying to do to get the motor going on this system. It's definitely being intelligently manipulated. And I'm amusingly been watching all day how they have started where they left off yesterday, firing that energy full force, and then that kind of started to dissipate yesterday evening. They shot at several other different places around it. That didn't work. Then they started this morning shooting all around in a ring-shaped area to try to get the convection going in a circle around the center. That didn't work, so now they're trying to shoot beam energy at the southwestern part of the system with the hope it will nudge it west, and maybe you'll get lucky with a patch of warmer water to the west of where the system is right now. But time will tell if that works or not. But as long as the clouds, the showers, rain keep falling over that area of ocean, it's going to lose its heat content and it's going to start to dissipate. I know it's the opposite of what most people, the models, are trying to say. It's going to develop into a Cat 4 or even 5 hurricane soon, and so far that has not happened. And more likely isn't going to happen. I can't say 100% it won't happen, because I don't know if there's a warm patch of water it could still hit further to the west. But the whole system has been drifting gradually northward toward Hispaniola. If it goes much further north, it's going to start to get picked up by that trough in the North Atlantic. That's between Bermuda and the Azores. There's a huge trough there. There is a ridge to the west of that over the western Atlantic. Narrow ridge, it's not a very big one. And then we got the trough here in the eastern U.S. that's setting up. There's only a very narrow window this storm has to get going with right now. But in the last 24 hours, the system has gone nowhere in intensity. It has not intensified as they've been claiming it was going to. They have failed to get the motor going. and time is starting to run out. They're claiming it's going to stick around the Caribbean until the middle of next week, and I find that hard to believe that it's going to last that long. If it stays that long, it's going to suck the heat out of the water and it's going to kill it. Of course, they keep saying the Caribbean is record warm and everything, and I don't believe it. The heat content is lacking. That's why the storm hasn't really gotten going. The heat content of the Caribbean is lacking right now. But I was thinking, I saw an image of Wilma 20 years ago, around this time of year in October, 2005. Wilma, what a contrast. Moved through the Caribbean, 180 mile an hour winds. It was a real natural hurricane. But now, you can't even get a hurricane manipulated in the Caribbean. That tells you the difference between now and 2005 in heat content. 2005, we had Wilma moving through the Caribbean, 180 mile an hour winds. I saw an image of it today, 20 years ago. In the last 20 years, the heat content in the Caribbean has gone through the floor. That they can't even manipulate a hurricane to form, where Wilma 20 years ago raged without help, without manipulation. So, is this really going to develop? I can't say for sure. I don't know. I don't have a thermometer to measure the actual water temperatures of the Caribbean right now. I don't believe the anomaly maps. I don't believe the anomaly maps either. The only hope they have, again, is this system has to move to the west to develop into anything. If it sits where it is for a few more days and doesn't move much, the heat content in that water is going to get exhausted. It's not going to go anywhere. It has to go further west to where the sun's been hitting that water more and there hasn't been cloud cover. But even there, the heat content, I feel, is marginal. I don't believe the anomaly maps that it's the warmest on record. This is all global warming propaganda. The evidence doesn't support it. 2005 was warm. Waters were warm back then to support a storm like Wilma. But now, you can't even get a hurricane manipulated where Wilma 20 years ago raged. Naturally, no help. I'm leaning towards that. If they don't get the motor going on this thing, it's not going to amount to much. It may give a lot of rain to Hispaniola. It's not going to get anywhere past a tropical storm. All this talk, it's going to be something huge, something major. They have to get the motor going before anything like that can happen. If they don't get the motor going on this thing soon, probably going to be their last opportunity this season. Because we're going into November soon. And yeah, the hurricane season officially ends December 1st. But usually November is not a very active month, even normally, climatologically speaking. And the benign weather in the U.S. probably soon going to finally come to a close, because eventually all those storming systems moving through Bering Sea, Gulf of Alaska, eventually that energy is going to come east into the U.S. And there's Potts Creek. But I feel that ocean temperatures reached their peak around 2005, have been cooling since as a whole. We've been getting more La Niñas in the recent years, and the anomaly maps started to show it. I remember comparing 2005, like back in 2008, I'd look at especially the Environment Canada anomaly maps, and you could see that the oceans were starting to cool from 2006 onward. At first they didn't hide it. They were actually showing the cooling on the anomaly maps, but then Environment Canada, because they have to be accurate on their maps because sea ice, people depend on that for commerce. So I would always look at their maps. They usually were closer to being accurate than the US ones were for ocean temperature anomalies. But now, as far as I know, Environment Canada doesn't put that map out anymore. They stopped putting it out, or I wasn't able to access it anymore. I feel the oceans have been cooling since about 2005. They're not as warm as they were back then, and I come to that conclusion because there's been a reduction in hurricane activity. Hurricanes need heat. It's just like snowfall needs temperatures below 32 degrees to happen. Hurricanes need very warm water to form and intensify. For them to manufacture systems, you have to have the right conditions still in place or close to the right conditions. If the water temperatures lose their heat content or oceans, it gets harder and harder even for them to manipulate a storm into forming. And that's what's been happening lately. There's been like 4 or 5 tropical systems that they said were going to become hurricanes, and they don't. It's because we're losing the heat content to the point where they can't even manufacture them anymore. It used to be, I touched on this yesterday, that they hit it with energy and within a few hours they got the motor going. It didn't take long once they gave it a good shot of energy to get it going. Now, it's 2 straight days they've been trying to get the motor going on this system. They have not been able to. That tells me the heat content in the Caribbean right now is seriously lacking. And even if they manage to get the motor going, say tomorrow on it, the truth of the matter is it took them 3 days, 3 full days, but actually much longer, because they've been shooting energy at this system since it came off Africa to prop it up, to keep it going. So, personally, I highly doubt if this system's going to ever become a Category 5. And there's a view of the bridge across the creek that gives me the access to the national forest areas, wilderness areas on the other side of the creek. And I could cross it over that log bridge, which I built this trail to get me to it, so I could cross the creek there. So you see this, I mean, I can't guarantee there's not going to be anything, that they're not going to be successful at. But if left to nature, if the satellite stopped working this moment, that system would be gone within 24 hours. It would go poof. Because the heat content just isn't there for it to naturally form. It would go poof within 24 hours. I mean, you could look at the images and tell it's trying to go poof, but they keep shooting energy at it constantly, so it can't. But if that energy stopped right now, within 24 hours the system would be gone, maybe even less. It'd be off the maps. What they're trying to do is prop it up, and hope that the system hits a patch of warmer water, that it will grab the system and intensify it. Otherwise, it would just dissolve within a day or less. Look at the images closely. You could see the explosions. You could see how the energy dissipates you could see the excessive outflow going all the way to Bermuda. It's very excessive level of outflow, not natural. So yeah, I gotta kind of get over this beaver dam here to get to that log bridge. I'm not going to cross it today because it's already late afternoon, but basically my trail comes over this, comes down the other side of this dam. And then I come over this way. I have to climb over these logs here. And the bridge is straight ahead. And I just go up the other bank. Usually step onto this log right here and then cross. So I'll be back with continued updates on this situation in the Caribbean. Be interesting to see how much what I've been saying holds water or doesn't hold water. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe the thing will develop after all tomorrow, as they're claiming. Well, we'll have to wait and see. But if it does, it will mean that the system, they were successful in getting it further to the west enough to where it somehow hit some warmer water enough to get the motor going. Because if the motor gets going, it could become a major hurricane. If the motor doesn't get going, it's not going to amount to anything. I'll be back.